Most people believe poverty begins when money disappears. They are wrong. Poverty begins long before the empty bank account. It begins when a person slowly accepts a smaller version of themselves. A person can lose everything and still remain dangerous. Another can own everything and still be powerless. The difference is not wealth. The difference is the mind that controls the person behind the wealth. Society teaches people to fear being poor, but it rarely teaches them to fear something far more destructive. Becoming dependent on approval, dependent on comfort, dependent on someone else deciding your value. Because a person who needs permission to feel powerful will always be controlled by the person holding that permission. Machiavelli understood a truth that still survives centuries later. Human beings are not controlled only by force. They are controlled by perception, by fear, by desire, by the stories they repeat inside their own minds. The greatest prison is not built with walls. It is built with beliefs. A person who believes they are powerless will surrender before the battle even begins. They will hesitate when opportunity appears. They will apologize for ambition. They will mistake obedience for humility and weakness for kindness. And while they wait for someone to rescue them, others move quietly. They study. They prepare. They build influence. The world does not always reward the most talented person. It often rewards the person who understands the hidden rules of human behavior. This is why some people rise after losing everything, while others collapse after gaining everything. The difference is internal control. The poor mindset asks, "Why does this happen to me?" The strategic mind asks, "What can I learn from this?" One creates a victim, the other creates a ruler. But here is the uncomfortable truth. You do not need to become rich to think with power. You need to stop allowing scarcity to control your identity. Because the most dangerous person in the room is not always the person with the most resources. It is the person who cannot be mentally owned. Today, we will uncover the hidden psychology behind power, discipline, and self-mastery. The lessons Machiavelli revealed about human nature were never only about kings and kingdoms. They were about the battlefield inside every human mind. And if you fail to understand that battlefield, someone else will use it against you. Number 1. Poverty begins with a surrendered mind. The first illusion you must destroy is the belief that poverty is only a financial condition. Money can reveal weakness, but money does not create it. The deepest form of poverty begins when a person slowly loses authority over their own thoughts. It happens quietly, almost invisibly. A person stops questioning, stops creating, stops believing they can influence their own future. They begin adapting to limitations until those limitations feel natural. This is how the mind becomes trapped, not through chains, through acceptance. The dangerous part is that this state often looks normal. People call it being realistic. They call it knowing your place. They call it being satisfied with less. But throughout history, every major transformation began with someone refusing to accept the reality placed in front of them. The inventor who saw a machine where others saw impossible. The entrepreneur who saw opportunity where others saw collapse. The leader who saw a future before anyone else could imagine it. Power always begins as a mental rebellion. Not against society, against the invisible boundaries inside your own thinking. A weak mindset constantly searches for reasons why something cannot happen. A strategic mindset searches for the conditions required to make it happen. The difference is subtle, but the consequences are enormous. Consider two people facing the same economic crisis. One sees the situation as proof that life is unfair. Every setback becomes another reason to surrender. The other sees the crisis as information. They analyze the market. They develop skills. They adjust their strategy. The external problem is the same. The internal response creates two completely different futures. This is why Machiavelli studied human behavior instead of simply studying wealth. He understood that power is first created in perception. Before a person can influence the world outside, they must first command the world inside. Most people lose because they surrender mentally before reality defeats them. They allow fear to become an advisor. They allow comparison to become a judge. They allow temporary failure to become a permanent identity. And once identity changes, behavior follows. A person who sees themselves as powerless will unconsciously search for situations that confirm that belief. They avoid risks. They avoid responsibility. They avoid situations where they could discover their own strength. This is the psychological trap. The mind protects the identity it has accepted, even when that identity destroys potential. That is why changing circumstances is often impossible without changing perception first. The person who believes they are destined to lose will sabotage opportunities that could make them win. Not because they lack intelligence, because their mind is defending an old story. The first battle of power is therefore not against competitors. It is against the version of yourself that has learned to surrender. The world constantly sends signals telling you what you should fear, what you should chase, and what you should accept. The question is whether those thoughts are truly yours or simply ideas you inherited from people who were also trapped. A person who controls their perception becomes difficult to control. They no longer react automatically. They observe. They calculate. They choose. And that is where real power begins. But destroying the poverty mindset is only the first step. Because even after a person changes how they see themselves, they still face a more dangerous enemy, the need to be seen as powerful by others. And that need has destroyed more potential than failure ever could. Number 2, the need for approval is a hidden prison. Most people believe their greatest obstacle is a lack of opportunity. They are wrong. For many, the greatest obstacle is the invisible hunger to be accepted by everyone around them. This hunger quietly destroys ambition because the person who needs approval cannot make independent decisions. They become a prisoner of other people's reactions. Every choice is filtered through one question. What will they think of me? That single question has buried more dreams than failure ever has. The world does not always control people through force. Often, it controls them through emotional dependency. A person who desperately needs recognition becomes predictable, and anything predictable can be influenced. Machiavelli understood that human beings are moved by desire and fear. The desire to be loved, the fear of rejection. These forces shape decisions more than logic. Look at modern life. People spend years building an image for strangers on social media. They choose careers to impress families they secretly resent. They stay in environments that destroy them because leaving would disappoint people who never carried their burdens. They trade freedom for acceptance without realizing the cost. The most dangerous prison is the one where the prisoner believes the chains are protection. Approval feels like safety, but it comes with a hidden price. You must constantly perform a version of yourself that others approve of. Slowly, you lose contact with the person you actually are. History is filled with individuals who became powerful because they were willing to stand alone before they were accepted. Every revolutionary idea, every major company, every breakthrough movement began with someone being misunderstood. Before the world celebrates a person, it often questions them. Before people respect a decision, they often criticize it. This is the uncomfortable pattern of influence. Recognition usually comes after resistance. But most people never reach that stage because they surrender at the first sign of disapproval. They mistake criticism for failure. They mistake rejection for proof that they are wrong. A strategic mind sees criticism differently. It studies it. It separates useful information from emotional noise. The weak person asks, "How do I make everyone like me?" The powerful person asks, "Is this reaction important enough to change my direction?" That difference creates independence. Consider a business leader making a difficult decision. Employees may complain. Competitors may attack. The public may misunderstand. If that leader is controlled by immediate reactions, the company becomes directionless. Every decision becomes a popularity contest. But someone with internal authority understands that leadership often requires temporary discomfort. They accept being misunderstood because they understand the larger objective. This does not mean ignoring everyone. It means refusing to surrender your judgment to everyone. There is a difference between listening and obeying, between respecting opinions and being controlled by them. Many people reveal their weakness through constant explanation. They explain their choices. They defend every action. They desperately try to convince others that they deserve respect. But power rarely announces itself. It appears through certainty. A person who truly knows their value does not need to constantly prove it. They allow results to speak. They allow time to reveal the truth. Silence becomes a form of strength because it shows emotional independence. When you no longer need everyone to understand you, you become harder to manipulate. When you no longer need constant validation, you become willing to take paths others fear. This is why detachment from approval is one of the foundations of power. Not because you stop caring about people, but because you stop allowing their opinions to control your identity. The person who needs applause becomes a performer. The person who controls themselves becomes a force. But there is another illusion that traps people after they escape approval. They begin chasing the appearance of power instead of building the foundation of real power. And that is where many people become nothing more than actors wearing a crown they never earned.